Have you ever wondered what's the difference between a rich person and someone who struggles with their money day by day? I'm Alan Ryan, and I'm going to share with you 5 strategies you can implement today, which will lean you more towards that rich category by the time you're ready to retire. And when I say when you're ready to retire, I'm talking about financial freedom and hopefully retiring early. Please stay and watch my video all the way through so you learn all of my tips and tricks. Please smash the like button down below and add any comments if there's anything that I missed or anything that you would like me to cover. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Step number 1, pay attention to where all of your money is going each month. This may sound very basic and very simple, but it's actually very important. And most of us don't take time to actually go through each line item of our credit cards, our bank statements, and really just pay attention to where that money is going. So I recommend you make a schedule. For me, that's the 1st of every month and the 15th of every month where I sit down, I go through my credit cards, I go through my bank statements, I go through everything that has an expense, and I'm gonna look and observe every expense that I've made for that month. Now, the goal is not to judge yourself and wonder, why did I make these purchases and what's going on here? The goal is really to just observe where that money is flowing. And what's interesting is you might find something that you didn't expect. For example, you might find that Bark box that you subscribed to 6 months ago that you're still paying for. Or you might find that you're paying for that Netflix subscription and your wife is also paying for that Netflix subscription. You're double paying. Or maybe you have a Spotify account and maybe your significant other or your friend that lives with you also has a Spotify account. And there's double spends that are occurring. So by looking through all of your expenses and just understanding where the flow of your money is actually going and why you're not holding on to that money. And if you're struggling with over information, as we always get, especially with all these purchases, these frivolous purchases we might make, I suggest that you go look at mint.com and sign up for their free account where you can observe all of the purchases you've made. You sign up and all of your credit cards, all of your bank statements, everything syncs up on there. You can easily visualize where that money is going. And I highly recommend them. They're not an affiliate of mine or anything, but it's definitely a good idea to observe where those purchases are going. And going back to rich people, this is one thing that they understand often is exactly where their money is going to. And this brings me to the next strategy, which is cutting unnecessary expenses. And now that you know where all of your money is going, and you've observed, maybe you've developed a Mint account and you've actually visualized all that money and where it's actually going to, now you can get a general idea of some of the expenses that you have and some that don't really make much sense. So we're gonna look for non-fixed costs. So fixed costs are all things that are reoccurring costs that you don't really have much control over. So that might be rent, that might be your car payment, that might be your electric and water bill. You don't have much control over those. It's kind of hard to reduce the costs of those. But we're gonna look for non-fixed costs and look at those nickel and dime activities that are actually eating away at your account. So like I mentioned earlier with those subscription accounts, all of those really add up. So just determining if you really need those or if you're maybe double spending on any of those. For me, one example was I was overpaying for my Verizon bills. So simply by calling them and telling them I wanted a discount, they were able to give me a 30% reduction of my bill, which saves me about $50 a month on a family plan. Do you really need that almond white mocha latte frothy whatever that you have at Starbucks or whatever shop you have every Tuesday? Maybe you can cut that cost out and save a lot of money there. So we're really gonna start looking for cutting back unnecessary expenses. Maybe that means you eat out less and you start cooking more food at home. Maybe that means you cut down on some of the subscription costs, but you really want to decrease as much costs as you can so that you can save that money in your bank. And that's going to bring us to strategy number 3, which is, what should I do with my money? What should I do with this money that I've saved? And my suggestion to you is to put that money in an index fund, a low fee index fund. The one that I recommend is actually VTSAX from Vanguard because it has the lowest possible fee that I'm aware of in the market. And so you're looking at a 0.04% fee for your Vanguard fund. And that's about the lowest that you're gonna find out there. And you might ask yourself, well, what is an index fund, right? So an index fund, you can think of it like a small portion of a lot of different stocks. So you're actually investing in like the total stock market index, which has, a little piece of all of those companies out there. And, if a couple of them aren't doing so well, chances are most of them are doing quite well. And I think what you'll find is that it's very hard to beat the total stock market index for just stock picking. Let's say you're picking Apple or Tesla, and you might get lucky and have years where you do quite well. But you might also have years where you choose the wrong stock and you lose a lot of money. So by choosing Vanguard, VTSAX index fund, you're spreading it out and your chances of growth are much higher. So all this extra money is really going to compound. So you get to benefit from this compounding interest effect, which is really going to accumulate that wealth. And I encourage you to read the book, A Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, if you have any questions about investing in a simple way that actually aggregates and really grows your initial investment. And this strategy is quite simple. The most important part of the strategy is actually putting the money in consistently every month so that you're seeing those compounding effects. Now, if you decide to sell all of the VTSAX when the market tanks, obviously you're going to lose money. So the idea is you want to keep consistently putting money into VTSAX every month. So for me, this means the beginning of each month, I just blindly put in the money into VTSAX. I don't ask questions. Doesn't matter if the market's high, doesn't matter if it's low. I just keep consistently putting money in there. If you think about it, if the market is low, you're buying those shares at a discounted value. That's a great deal. If the market is high, well, now all of your aggregated assets have a higher stock price, and that's also good. So it doesn't matter how you look at it. You want to be very consistent. And that brings us to step 4, which is don't be afraid to hustle and to get your hands dirty a little bit. Now for me, I've had a lot of different random jobs, for anything from construction to climbing water towers to working fast food to you name it. I've pretty much been there and done that. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and to really take on those small jobs. Maybe that means for you just being an Uber driver after work. Feel free to take on those projects and don't look down on people who do. Don't think that you need to quit that 9-to-5 job. Maybe you can continue working that 9-to-5 job. That financial stability is going to allow you to have a backbone that you can really build on, that you can accumulate wealth. That stability is going to allow you to make even higher dividends in the future. And that brings us to step 5, which is probably the most important, and that is investing in yourself. If you think about where you want to go, where you want to be in your future, your ideal job, you want to gain skills along the way that make you competitive and make you stand out for that role. Every position, everyone in the world, they had to start somewhere, right? And that might be you. You might be starting at some place and you want to have your dream job. You really want to invest, for me, I recommend investing about 5% of what you earn each month on yourself and on your own personal development. So really think about your dream job and then think about the steps that are required to get you there. Everyone's path is going to be a little bit different, but it's still important. We have a lot of things in common, such as communication in writing, financial literacy. All of these things are actually quite important when it comes to securing a job in the future. You want to think about these things. Also, by investing in yourself, you might stumble across something that you actually quite enjoy. So maybe you take a class on cooking, or you take a class on brewing an amazing cup of coffee, and that might spark something in you to become an entrepreneur and open the next best coffee shop or the next best eatery where you're cooking all this amazing food. So you're not sure what you might find along the way. So I really encourage you to put yourself out there, invest in yourself, and to allow yourself the freedom to gain new skills. And these skills might even allow you to pay for that Tuesday cup of almond milk vanilla latte extravaganza that you really like. I mean, maybe that wealth that you accumulate at the end is going to help pay for those. And lastly, don't be too hard on yourself. While you're going through this process, allow yourself the comfort of growing and really learning about yourself, feeling good that you're actually devoting the effort to establishing some wealth and establishing some financial security. But the sooner that you invest the time and energy into these processes, you're really going to compound that wealth like we were discussing earlier. So this is what separates someone who doesn't have much financial literacy with a wealthy individual. It might take you a lot of effort to implement even one of these 5 strategies, but I can guarantee you, if you master even part of all of these strategies, you're going to see a massive difference in your wealth accumulation by the time that you're financially ready to retire. Maybe that means 50 years old. So please let me know if I've missed anything in this video, if there's anything that you'd like me to add or anything you'd like me to go over. I really appreciate you staying to the end to listen to hear what I have to say. And please smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.